Hey, look, a new subscriber.
Thanks everyone, welcome back to one of my new videos, and in today's video we are going to be talking about insecure deserialization. So in this vulnerability, we generally replace a data processed by the server into a malicious code, and that malicious code can help you exploit it. Now you can do many things with it, for example a DOS attack or a RC, or you can even get a RCA. But the thing is, and also a reason why it is ranked 8 out of 10 is because you see, this vulnerability is based on case basis, which means that sometimes it works and sometimes it does not. Because there is no particular framework or reliable tool to use it. So it generally depends on the hacker's skill and abilities. And the as you can see it's written over here, the exploit is only as dangerous as the attacker's skill permit. So generally there are most of the time DOS attacks, so but those who use RCE are called geniuses. So you can use this in order to be called a great hacker. Over here, a question arises: what's vulnerable? So it generally tells us that which applications are more likely to be attacked by this. So the application which stores and fetches data are more likely to be attacked by this vulnerability, because most of the time, most of the things does not remain in a programmer's head. So that's why they forget about security sometimes. That can be also considered a vulnerability. What exactly is object? So let's start with object oriented programming. As you know, the basic of object oriented programming is Java, and I'm expecting to release one video on it also, because it's quite broad and you'd also need it for many hacking purposes. So objects are made up of two things: state and behavior. And objects generally allow you to create the base of um, of a code, of a program, or of a function, and of something without doing the legwork again and again. So by that you must have understood you don't need to create the base again and again. You can just put it, one building upon other. So I know it sounds impractical, but yeah, it's there in computer science, so I can't help much. Computers and things are different. That's why probably I really don't care. So deserialization. Now we come to an important topic: deserialization. So over here we have got an interesting analogy. A tourist is approaching the street, and he looks at the landmark and finds himself lost. So unfortunately there isn't a person who knows English, and he went to some other person and asked for direction, but the person also doesn't know English. So they can't communicate and they don't know each other's dialect also. So what will the person do? He'll probably draw a map to a route of a landmark. Because over here it's written picture crosses language barriers. The same can be said for art. So because of this, that tourist, I think, let's call him Nathan, is able to find his way back. Um, so over here we have got something similar, and it's an analogy, so don't take it too seriously. So serialization is the process of converting objects used in programming into simpler, comfortable format. So it's the base of networking. For example, you don't speak computer language, and the system doesn't understand or can speak to you in the same language. That's why there is a medium between them, between systems or networks, for further processing of storage. No, and then this is serialization. I was talking about serialization. Now deserialization is the exact reverse of it, which means converting serialized information into complex information. For example, converting that picture landmark into a actual complex form like words, um, an object that the application will understand for your understanding. Over here we have got something like a perfect example. So there's a password 123. You put it in the network and then you wanted to store it in your server perhaps. So you send it to the server, and when you are sending it to via the network, the data is being converted into into binary, which is quite good for us actually. And you'll learn more about it in OSI model, which is quite interesting. So I'm not getting us straight from the topic. So you the binary is going to the server, and then when the server receives it, it converts it back into the actual form. So this is what deserialization is. First, when you send the data, it's getting serialized. When it reaches password 123, is then converted back into when we are putting it back in the server. The password is deserialized. So first serialized, then deserialized. So this is how OSI model also work. And there are 7 layers, but I'm not getting it straight again. So how can we leverage this? Now, as an attacker point of view, simply insecure serialization occurs when data from an untrusted party gets executed because there is no filtering or input validation. How many of you understood? Please raise your hand in the chat comment box. I'm getting bored right now. So you see, they are converting the data over here, but what if the data is malicious and the server is executing that data? Wouldn't this server get screwed? We are now at cookies, and these are quite important if you ask me, because if you ask me what's the most important thing in data storing, then I think it would be cookies when we are talking about web applications. So, Gerald, what is cookies? You must have seen this message pop up, which is written over here. We use cookies to ensure you get best experience, user experience. Now, in order to explain this to you in a better way, let's use Facebook as an example. Now, Facebook stores your data. You must have heard that a lot. So, how does it exactly store your data? It doesn't just come and check your phone, like put a virus in it and see monitor each and everything of yours. Well, that would be a good idea, but still it's not enough. So how do they exactly store your data? How do they monitor you? To put it simply, they just use cookies over here. So cookies are used as to see what you are technically doing. It's like seeing your activities over here. And most of the time these cookies are stored in encrypted formats, but those which are not stored in encrypted formats are, we can say, quite vulnerable. And they can be hacked, to put it simply. So, but they are not permanent storage. You must remember this word. They are not permanent storage solutions like databases. So some cookies use session IDs, which is when browser is closed, it disappears, and then when you open again, you get something new, or probably the same sometimes. Sometimes, not always. So this is determined by expiry timer that is set when the cookie is created. So over here I need to explain a bit of OSI model. So in OSI model there is something called session create and session end over there. So is this session function? I think it was the fifth layer. So the fifth layer was responsible for creating and ending sessions. Yeah, you should know this much only. You can generally take a look at this table. It kinda asserts some cookies have additional attributes. So it's kind of explaining to you the cookies and some important things related to it. So you shall must remember one thing: secure only means HTTPS connection. How do we exactly create cookies? So cookies can be created using programming languages, for example JavaScript, PHP, or Python Flask. Not exactly that Python Flask, remember it. So so here is an example of Python Flask, and yeah, you can have fun with it. You all can get lost because the practical will be here for another video. And I know some of you must have gotten bored, but believe me, it's important.